Welcome back to the Knock-On Effect, the rugby show where we say what the pundits won't. Do you ever watch rugby highlights and feel like you haven't really got the full picture of the match? Hold my beer. In today's video, we're going to tell you exactly what we learned from every match at Game Week 1 of the URC, so you won't miss a thing. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Right, so we're going to skip over the Stormers and Leinster match. I already did a full breakdown of that over the weekend, so if you want to hear more about it, I'll leave a link in the description. First match we're going to look at is Cardiff versus the Lions. These are both teams that we had in the bottom 4 from our predictions video. Cardiff are reeling after the loss of their head coach Matt Sherratt, and the Lions have historically been dog shit on the road. So what did we learn here? Cardiff haven't fallen apart. They seem to be coping very well with their departures. Even despite a red card in the 30th minute for Ben Thomas, Cardiff looked head and shoulders the better team. Callum Sheedy kicked excellently and Evan Lloyd popped up with 2 tries on the night. The Lions, however, are going to be in for a tough season if they keep looking like this away from home. Their defensive structure needs to improve. They allowed 14 clear breaks and lost a total of 690 metres. Not good enough. Apologies for interrupting, but if you could take this opportunity to hit subscribe, it would really help us out. It goes a long way in helping us to create more of this kind of unfiltered rugby content. So if you're enjoying the video, please do hit subscribe. Back to it, and the next match we're going to take a look at is Ulster vs the Dragons. Richie Murphy's first full season with Ulster, while the Dragons hope to bounce back after an abysmal campaign last year. Our takeaway? Ulster looked great, but it wasn't against top opposition. Now what I will say is this, there was multiple times last year that Ulster looked good, but allowed their opponents back into the match. They didn't do that here. Now they closed out the game well. Nathan Doak was fantastic on the night, and we saw our first glimpse of Augustus in an Ulster jersey. He looks to be a really dynamic ball carrier and will undoubtedly make the Ulster men tougher to beat. As for the Dragons, this was always going to be a tough first match. Aaron Wainwright's try straight from the kickoff was unfortunately their best moment of the game. It just so happened to be 10 seconds into the match. Tinnis de Beer kicked well throughout the game, but they got beaten up in the forwards at times. It wasn't all bad, but they did show good moments, and there was just too many lapses in concentration in their defence for this level of rugby. If they can tighten up a bit, they'll do a lot better than last season. The Glasgow Warriors gave a frosty welcome to the toothless Sharks in Scottstown Stadium. No surprise to see previous top try scorer Johnny Mathews pop up on the score sheet, who was unlucky to have a second try disallowed. The Warriors grinded out a really hard fought contest here to come out on top. More the same from them, a well drilled and rugged outfit. I'd be surprised if they don't finish in the top 4 again. As for the Sharks, they made the game ugly and put up a valiant effort, but in the end they were no match for the Warriors. Next up, their countrymen, the Vodacom Bulls, greeted Ospreys at Loftus Field in what was probably the best game in round 1. This was a really interesting match. The ongoing rugby championship meant that the Bulls were without a large contingent to their regular squad. But even given that, I don't think many of us would have predicted the Ospreys to score 40 points away from home. The Bulls proved they have enough strength in depth to overcome a difficult challenge, while the real story is that the Ospreys were fantastic. Both Keelan Giles and Kieran Williams scored braces, and overall their backs looked electric. They were well able to turn on the afterburners, and while the Bulls proved too much, they can walk away with their heads held high. Over in Galway, we not only saw our first look of Lancaster's Connacht, but also the new Dexcom Stadium. Benetton would have eyed an upset here, away from home, but a handful of yellow cards really disrupted their flow. In addition, the absence of Rhino Smith in their backfield was noticeable, and ultimately, it just wasn't their day. As for Connacht, it was a great opening round performance. Josh Ione left the field after 26 minutes due to a head collision, but by God does he look good when he's fit. Cathal Forde kicked well, and Sean Jansen put a cherry on top when he bulldozed his way over the line. If Lancaster can have Connacht consistently, and I mean consistently, churning out performances like this, they'll be back in the Champions Cup in no time. Next up is Zebre vs Edinburgh. We had Zebre in our bottom 4, and while I don't think that's going to change, they are proving to be a lot better drilled than in years gone by. They caused a few upsets last year, and they've just added Edinburgh to the list. Despite a red card in the 16th minute for Giovanni Licata, big performances from Alessandro Fusco and Simone Gessi powered Zebre over the line. Edinburgh showed that last season's disappointment wasn't a fluke. A poorly judged kick out in the full from Ben Healy in the closing minutes allowed Zebre to steal the win at the death. This was a match that they would have expected to win. They will have to do much better in terms of game management, or it'll be a very long season. Lastly is the Scarlets vs Munster. Now don't forget, with the proposed solution to Welsh rugby's crisis, all of these Welsh clubs are fighting for their lives. The Scarlets fought their way back into the match towards the end, but you're always likely to lose a game where you fail to score in the opening half. Despite their fight back, Clayton McMillan's new-look Munster proved too strong in the end. Here's my thoughts from a Munster perspective. Craig Casey will be the face of this new era. He's really stepping up, not only in terms of being a world-class scrum half, but as a leader. The pack look much fitter and much more willing to pick and go and run at the opposition. Dan Kelly will be thrilled with his debut try, and to be honest, I really can't fault anything in this performance. I've been incredibly optimistic and excited for this season, and with a performance like that to kick us off, I couldn't be any happier. So that wraps up our Game Week 1 recap. Be sure and jump into the comments and give us your takeaway. As always, cheers for watching, catch you at the next one.